happening today. Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio will meet with top officials from Greenland and Denmark. President Trump says the U.S. will take the Arctic island either through a deal or they're going to take it by force. Joining me now is Ambassador Carla Sands, the former U.S. ambassador to Greenland and Denmark. Ambassador, welcome back as always. The thing we keep saying is, oh, to be a fly on the wall today. What are your expectations from these trilateral talks?
Well, I know that the Greenlanders would actually like to meet with the U.S. officials alone, but Denmark won't allow that. Denmark has, they're part of NATO, and they have the responsibility under Article 3 to be able to defend their territory, but they've never been able to defend Greenland. They don't have the money. They're not a big enough economy. And they don't have the manpower. When I was ambassador, they had 30 guys at the Joint Arctic Command.
Wow.
And Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen in 2019, at the urging of President Trump regarding Greenland not being secure, she promised to invest $200 million into Greenland security. There were specific things that she promised to do. Guess what? She spent 1% of that money, and not on defense of Greenland. So she just, as soon as he was out of office, she looked the other way and put it into social welfare programs, which Danes prefer. So she has intentionally not secured Greenland over the years. So you can never assume that Denmark will fulfill their primary obligation of securing their territory. And Greenland has said that they're going independent. Just like Iceland left the Kingdom of Denmark in the 20th century, Greenland will leave Denmark and go independent in the 21st century. President Trump's going to make sure that they are in the right side, not the wrong side of history when that happens.
So obviously, Denmark and Greenland have come out as vehemently opposed to this, saying we're not up for grabs, we're not up for sale here. Is there anything that Vice President Vance or Marco Rubio could say today that would change their minds at all?
Well, not to the premier, because he's controlled by Denmark. Let's not forget that Denmark controls Greenland's security, even though it's not secure, and their foreign policy. And so the Greenlanders just want development. They want to be prosperous and have good paying jobs. Denmark sends them welfare of about $600 million a year. It's about 20% of their overall budget. But it's not enough to develop them. They've never had the interest or ability to develop Greenland. So it's like an asset that they can't afford to own, that just kind of sits up there and chugs along, but doesn't offer the prosperity that the Greenlandic people are so hopeful for.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to think, if I'm Greenland going into the White House today, is it security guarantees, economic investment, political recognition? I mean, if I'm Greenland, what has to happen for me to consider today a win?
So for the Greenlandic people, not the premier, who is controlled by Denmark, and I will just say this, the Danes have done a psyop on the Greenlanders. Right now, they are just reeling from the messages by Denmark since President Trump was reelected that America's bad, that we have ill intentions. And they've passed laws that we're not allowed to do certain things in Greenland. Only Denmark can do it. But the people of Greenland, they want to be secure, so the security guarantees. They want to be prosperous, so investment by the U.S., which U.S. companies can invest in places like Denmark that are tough places to do business because of the backstop of the federal government with things like Exim Bank and DFC. Development Finance Corporation. So there will be opportunity for the Greenlanders. President Trump has floated making payments. They would love that. They always talked about America being so rich that we would come like Uncle Sam with money bags. So they're hopeful. And I think it's the day-to-day Greenlanders that are going to be the ones that are receptive to President Trump and J.D. Vance's message.
Just a couple seconds left. By the end of Trump's term, what do you think our relationship with Greenland is? Do we own it?
I think it's more secure. I'm not sure, because they want to be independent. They want to have their own government. So maybe it looks like a COFA, a free association agreement, like Palau or Micronesia, where they have autonomy, but we invest and we secure them. They're part of the Golden Dome. We have to have Greenland, just like Alaska, in order to secure the homeland.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.